Now I spend a lot of time aboard XC bikes here at the channel and I'm pretty lucky. They're normally pretty fancy with some all singing, all dancing parts on it. But you know what, it got me thinking, that's not really obtainable for a lot of people, and I get that. Bikes are expensive, so I was thinking, can you build an ultimate cheap XC bike?
So I took a little bit of inspiration from Neil on this one, who did a very similar video but with a downhill bike, and it was flipping amazing. And after trawling the internet looking for some absolute bargains, I've come up with this. This is what I've come up with then, a Scott Scale 50, roughly 2012, and I found it on eBay. The guy who was selling it luckily lived fairly close by, and he just used it as a pub kind of run around bike. Having said that though, I think it's a great starting point to able to convert into a really good bike. I mean, we're gonna have to change some parts. So it's running an old school 3x9 group set. There's a front mech on it. I've not seen one of those in God knows how many years. It's 26-inch wheels, very narrow bars. There's 600 wide bars. There's no dropper or anything like that. Nothing's internally routed. But I do believe that this could make a very good and still competitive XC bike for a very cheap price. Okay, well, do you know what? I think it's time we start upgrading and improving this bike. I've got some really good bits that I'm gonna put on it, and we're gonna run through why and what I've chosen and how much as well, because that's gonna be a real crucial thing. So we're gonna have a little money counter up in the corner of the screen there. But let's get it stripped and let's get cracking. Whoa! Say goodbye, 9-speed. Seeing it again for a fair while. So if this bike's looking a bit familiar to you, well then it's a bit old school, but Nino Schurter actually rode a 26-inch carbon version of the scale around the 2011-2012 season, just as 29ers were starting to overtake. He was still rocking, like I said, that carbon framed one of these. So it's race proven, but it's old school again. Like I said, there's no internal routing, nothing like that. So we're gonna undo these cable clamps under here. It does make it very easy to work on at least, so that is a bonus. Let's get cracking on these. This is an absolute spaghetti junction of cables going on here. That's one cable less from the front mech. We're not gonna need that. So that cleans things up a little bit. Okay, old grip, not needed. Let's get that one off. Oh, okay, so there we go. Look, we got a bit of interference. That's only gonna get worse when I do what I'm gonna do to the front here. Right, brakes are going, one of the shifters is going, we're gonna get some new grips on there, and these bars definitely have to go. 600mm wide is proper old school. So let's strip the front end of this, get it all off, and then the bike is gonna be kind of almost at its bare minimum. So let's crack on with this. Right, here's what we're dealing with. So these brakes are gonna get replaced, which we'll get to, but the pads in this back caliper are literally upside down. So that's coming off. Right, I'm reusing this crank set or chain set if you like, because I can just remove the 3 chain rings and replace it for something else. So here we have it then. The bike is pretty much stripped, back to basics. Bottom bracket's still in. That was actually running quite smooth, so I'm gonna reuse that. That can be left in and maybe just repack it full of grease. And the same with the headset. I mean, the headset is running pretty good. It's not silky smooth, but it's not all notchy and gritty. It still works absolutely fine. So we're gonna start at the front of the bike. Now, the first upgrade I have made to this bike is a new set of forks. Now, you're probably thinking, Rich, that is quite an expensive upgrade. And sometimes you might be right. I actually managed to get these for free from the local bike shop. I went in, I fancied me Chantey. I said, look, have you got any old forks knocking around, anything like that? And they were like, well, look, we've got these and we were literally going to scrap them. Pair of RockShox Rebas from a similar year, correct size steerer length, straight 1/8" all the way through. Straight swap, we'll have a look, we'll take this out, re-grease the headset, pop those back in, and then we'll move on to the cockpit. Okay, next up, these bars, like I said, 600s, those have got to go. Okay, you know what, in hindsight, I've had a little look and this stem is monstrous. So, bit of a blag this one, so again, zero cost, but I've managed to go and dig one out of the workshop here at work. So that is free. So that money counter doesn't need to go up just yet. So we're still stuck on that 250 mark. You can see the difference in bar length, look at that. Old school, new school, again. I've been saying it, but look, these were blagged to get from the local bike shop. So where I got my forks from, these were essentially in their scrap metal bin. And we're just gonna go out, 700 wide. There's a fair old back sweep on them, but I think they're gonna do perfect for this build. If you wanted, you can hunt around and you can get like cheap carbon flat bars online, eBay, places like that for like 20 quid. So free or very cheap. Either way, it still doesn't add up our tally. Right, now check out these beauties. I think braking is key here, and it's somewhere we can save a bit of weight as well. Old school Avid XO. Carbon levers, I think these were. 60 quid off Facebook Marketplace for the pair, including 160mm rotors. So that is now taking our total up to £310. Cha-ching! But let's get those fitted. They've got good pads in them still. They don't need bleeding because they weren't internally routed, so they should slot straight on. Okay, the pitfalls of buying online then. You gotta be careful. Buying and just having it posted is a risk, obviously. I got these brakes and they're wicked, but that front hose, way too short look. So that there is definitely not reaching, and I don't have any hose here. So that thing is gonna have to stay off for now. But it does mean it'll look like a sick dirt jump bike for the meantime. Anyway, let's carry on with the cockpit. So now I think we've got the brake on. We can't set that up till the wheel's in a bit. I reckon it's time to upgrade the transmission, if you like. The group set. So this had a 3x9 group set on it before. Out with the old, we're going 1x. Yes, I managed to get a really cheap 1x narrow wide chainring. I've got a brand new, this is the only brand new parts really that are going on this bike, 1x10 speed. Again, Shimano Dior group set, which will fit to the wheels I've got, which we will get to. And really, that's going to bring it up to sort of modern standards. It's still an 1146. I'll have to double check on the box in a minute. Ratio cassette. So there's still a pretty big old range of gear in there. And it just means it's going to save weight and it's going to look a lot cleaner. So let's get putting that on. We're doing the whole group set. So you know what, the shifter comes with a fresh outer. And I should have said, for our tally total, this is another £117 for the mech, the cassette, the shifter, and the chain. Right, let's get putting that bad boy on. Right, these are what I reckon the biggest bargain I found on Marketplace. Check out these DC Swiss rims on Hope Pro 2 hubs. And there's, I mean, listen to that. All right, it's not as silky smooth as what it used to be, but I mean, guess how much this set me back? 35 quid a pair. 26-inch, quick release, 6-bolt. They're exactly what I was looking for. 19mm internal, so they're pretty bloomin' narrow, but they're way lighter than the wheels that were on there. They're gonna need a bit of truing up, just a bit of TLC on them, but I mean, they're absolutely perfect. For this sort of old school XC build, you can't really get any better. So let's get them cleaned up a little, get the rotors, get the cassette on, and start getting that on the bike. So I was gonna go tubeless on this because that would be sort of keeping up with the times. But to keep the cost down, I wanted to reuse the tyres that came on it because they're in good nick. They still got the hairs on the side sort of thing. So we're gonna stick with tubes. Now, if you did wanna go tubeless, I reckon you could do it 40, 50 quid all in, having to get new tyres as well. 26-inch tyres are pretty cheap nowadays. Bit of sealant, you could use some Gorilla tape as your rim tape and some cheap tubeless valves. So yeah, I reckon you could do it for about 50 quid. But as it is, this hasn't cost me anything because I can reuse the tubes and the tyres. Quite a relief. Right, grips then, they are from an old bike of mine. So these tasty little ergon numbers can slide straight on there, looking good. Clamp them up tight. All right, check it out, it's taken shape nicely. So wheels are on, we're starting to get group sets on. There's sort of something resembling a proper cockpit on there. So now what I'm gonna do is we're gonna get the cranks and that on and convert it properly to that 1x group set. So I've given it a little clean up. Bottom bracket still feels pretty good. I'm happy with that. Save a few pennies. It doesn't need to be replaced at the moment. So let's get our new chainring on. In fact, have a look at this. £8 for a narrow wide chainring. Brand spankers in the pack as well. Unreal. So we're going to put that onto our existing cranks and get that chain on and we should be good to go. Right, the perils of neglected old bikes. Some of the bolts are seized. So trying to get this seat off to replace the seat for a way fancier one I've got. I mean, this bolt here is just not turning. I mean, it's not a good sign. Maximum effort here, watch this. Ugh. Okay. We're walking a fine line between rounding the bolt and getting it out, but I always like to walk that fine line. Yes, there we go. Have a look at this then. This, I reckon, is the most expensive blag on the entire bike. It's a Selle Italia XLR saddle with manganese rails. And now these saddles, I think they're like 120 quid normally. This is an ex-test saddle. So, you know, it's basically new. It's just sat in the local bike shop again. But he was like, I was like, oh, Tony, you got any saddle? He's like, get on, you can have one of these for 15 quid. So I was like, oh, bangers. Oh, bangers. So stick £15 up in the tally, please. And we are still well under 500 quid all in for this bike. But we'll get to that in a little bit. Let's get this on and we're nearly there. Right, here it is, people, the final finished product. And what a beauty it is. I am well chuffed with how this has come out. This has come at sub 500 quid. If you'd have thought, could you build an XC bike for under 500 quid, you definitely wouldn't think it looks like that. I mean, it's basically a Nino shirt, a replica, isn't it? So let's run through it a minute then. So basically the major components have been upgraded. So, you know, some stunning wheels for a really good price, which run fine. Quick true, quick check over, but they're still really good. Much lighter, save a lot of weight there as well. The forks, the old ones were blown and knackered. They were no good. And I was given these for free. Crazy. So it just goes to show if you out there do go and wander around the bike shops, there is stuff out there, and it was a straight swap. Steerer, tube length, travel, amazing. The newest parts, or the only new parts that were really brought, was the drivetrain, a complete drivetrain here, bar the cranks, for a 1x10 over a 3x9. Now what this is going to do is save some weight, less faff on mechanical parts, moving parts, and just bring it a bit more in line with what a modern XC bike is like. And it's unreal. And then, do you know what? All the final finishing touches, things like the wider bars, the lighter, better brakes. Now, obviously we're still missing the front brake at the moment. So stay tuned, because this bike will be in future videos where it will definitely have a front brake and maybe even a dropper, because I'm looking at it now and I think this could do with a dropper. So stay tuned. Would you like to see this bike in more videos? Maybe some comparisons? Do you think I should race it? Do you think I should take this to an XC race? Well, look, let me know in the comments down below. It's been really fun building this one, and it just goes to show that you don't need all the money, all the bells and whistles to build up a really great bike, especially if you're just getting into the sport. So look, here it is. Enjoy, people, and I'll catch you next time.